Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. I'm Sandro Ferdinando and here are your headlines for tonight.
Bahan special commodity levy on several imported goods increased. Import restrictions on several items relaxed. Central Bank of Sri Lanka cancels license of the finance company PLC. Depositors to be compensated. Schools will be reopened after the corona is defeated. An assurance from the Minister of Education. Ireland to petition challenging proclamation dissolving Parliament. Consideration of petitions to continue on the 26th. The true story behind the proposed Homagama Cricket Stadium.
අපේට ක්‍රීඩකයෝ වැඩියෙන්ම ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන අපේ පාසල් ක්‍රිකට් වල. ඉතින් අපි මේ අවුරුදු 15ටම 20ටම අපි පාසල් ක්‍රිකට් ගැන කිසිම
The curfew in the districts of Colombo and Gampaha will continue to be in effect until further notice. Issuing a statement, the President's Media Division noted that an island-wide curfew will prevail on the 24th and the 25th of May. The curfew in the districts other than Colombo and Gampaha will be imposed daily from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. apart from the 24th and the 25th. Meanwhile, the fundamental rights petitions seeking to invalidate the President's proclamation dissolving Parliament were taken up for consideration for the 5th day today. President's counsel, Ramesh De Silva, questioned in court as to how the failure of the Elections Commission to conduct the election would amount to a violation of the petitioner's fundamental rights by the President. He also faulted the Elections Commission for their decision not to hold the election. President's counsel Saleh Piris also requested court for an opportunity to reply to the aspersion on the integrity of the commission. We've got a detailed report on the proceedings at the Supreme Court coming up right after or during our news bulletin. Meanwhile, the special commodity levy has been increased on imported consumer items such as sugar, dal and canned fish with effect from today. The Finance Ministry said that the levy will be in effect for the next 6 months.
According to the latest tax revision, the special commodity levy on sugar has been increased from 35 rupees a kilo to 50 rupees. The levy imposed on canned fish, which stood at 50 rupees, has been doubled to 100 rupees. Meanwhile, the special commodity levy imposed on dried chilies has been increased by 25 rupees to 100 rupees. The levy imposed on a kilo of potatoes has also been doubled from 25 rupees to 50 rupees. Similarly, the levy on garlic has been increased from 40 rupees to 50 rupees, while the levy on Bombay onions has also been increased up to 50 rupees. The tax imposed on imported yogurt has also been increased from 625 rupees per kilo to 800 rupees. Meanwhile, the special commodity levy imposed on grapes, apples, oranges, cashew and corn has also been hiked. For more details on this story, log on to www.newsfirst.lk.
The government has lifted its import restrictions on several products despite retaining the ban on vehicle imports as part of its COVID-19 economic revival plan.
The temporary ban on the importation of products, which was imposed amidst a foreign exchange crisis in April, was relaxed last month as the government permitted the imports of raw materials with prior approval. President Secretary P.B. Jayasundara said in a letter to the Director General of the Customs Department, and I quote, "No prior approval is required as the temporary suspension is no longer applied," unquote. The country's economic revival plan aims to stabilize the exchange rate, increase domestic value addition, and also strengthen the domestic supply chain to avoid dependency on imports. Local import substitution industries such as cement and steel have been urged to meet the demand of massive investment projects such as the Port City and the Hambantota Economic Zone, and also their requirements such as food and water, according to the plan. The letter read imports of agricultural produce would be restricted except for those items which are subjected to special commodity levies. Agricultural products that are applicable to the levy would be those not produced in Sri Lanka, such as kiwi and apples, but are considered important for locals and high-end tourists. The importation of palm oil will also be restricted, while raw materials for the manufacture of cement, steel, plastic and ceramics would be subjected to standard duty. The letter stressed, and I quote, import of raw materials for local manufacturing activities to be permitted provided domestic value addition is at least 30%, unquote. It added that rubber manufacturing companies will be permitted to import latex and raw rubber provided they purchased 50% or more of local supply to encourage local rubber cultivation. According to the Economic Revival Plan, the special commodity levy will be maintained at high levels on sugar and sugar substitutes, milk powder and canned fish to encourage local production. The guidelines read import of motor vehicles, including motorcycles and three-wheelers, to be suspended other than agricultural, services and construction-related vehicles. The import of items for the telecommunication industry has been allowed subject to the applicable taxes. Import of IT equipment and computer accessories, mobile phones and electronics are permitted to promote local assembly industry and IT-related businesses.
In news here at home, former national cricketers were among those present for a crucial meeting at Temple Trees yesterday on the controversial proposal to construct Sri Lanka's largest ever cricket stadium in Homagama. Current Minister of Sports, former ministers and SLC officials were present at the meeting headed by the Prime Minister. Today we here because of school cricket. We did not climb our way through with any other platform. The quality of school cricket has downgraded when compared to our days. A major issue faced by schools is the lack of turf wickets. Even though we practice in the matting, at times we had to travel to Colombo and play in turf wicket. So our kids don't know how to play in those conditions. When we talk about school cricket, there are 50 schools playing cricket, but only 4 grounds are equipped with turf wickets. Western Province has 169 schools, but there are only 18 turf wickets. Most schools do not have the turf, so they play in the matting wicket. 26 schools play cricket in the Northern Province, but there is only 1 turf wicket. The Sabaragamuwa provinces does not have a single turf wicket. The Wayanma province, which has produced many outstanding cricketers, has only 3 turf wickets, whereas 41 schools play cricket. Southern Province, home to 50 cricket playing schools, has only 2 turf wickets. Only 2 first-class teams play in our international stadiums. These kids have no experience in playing at these international wickets. We don't play first-class cricket in Suryawaba, Pallekele, Dambulla or Kettarama. So there's a huge issue in our sports. We must focus on where our monies should be pumped. Most number of our players have come through the school system, so we have had no attention towards school cricket during the past 15 to 20 years. Also, when you analyze the past 15 years, most number of international players were not from Colombo but from outstation schools. However, to date, we haven't provided the necessary facilities for the outstation schools. It is extremely difficult for us to build a strong national team in the future if we don't strengthen our school and club cricket tournaments, as well as if we do not provide them with the facilities including turf wickets and the required exposure and experience. Also talking about Kettarama, that where the practices are held for the national team as well as cricket academy, and the gymnasium is situated there. But there is no swimming pool and there are no facilities to practice indoors during the rainy season. It is the same scenario in Pallekele and the golf stadium as well. The previous authorities or the ones before them had begun the construction of a swimming pool and a dormitory. That was stopped and another project was started. So I think these practices haven't had taken place if there was a national plan. The only aspiration of the politicians and cricket officials of our country was to see the largest cricket stadium in the island being built in Homagama. Former cricket captain Mahela Jayawardene, who stood firm and pointed out the future risk from the very beginning, and former captains including Sana Jayasuriya, Kumar Sangakkara and Roshan Mahanama, who included valuable points for it, must be commended. The sports fans of the island believe that our country needs such leaders as well. Sri Lankan cricket authorities should take serious note on the comments made by former Sri Lankan captain Mahela Jayawardene with all the data regarding the current situation of school cricket in Sri Lanka, as well as the dilemma faced in first-class cricket. The current cricket authorities must keep in mind that they are not pundits in world cricket. We remind the authorities that many people have worked tirelessly to bring cricket into the country. This is how Mahela Jayawardene explained to the politicians and cricket authorities about the future risk of constructing this stadium. A $40 million loan means we have to pay 3 to 4% interest. Then the interest and the premium is 3 million and 5 million. That means we have to pay it for 10 to 15 years. The sports of cricket and a cricket team is a brand, but now we don't have that brand anymore. When the brand is no more, the revenue gained by TV rights is reduced in the future. So the revenue falls, even though they say there is revenue. Recently, I saw the ICC had announced pay cuts, so I don't believe we will be able to gain the targeted revenue in the upcoming 5 years. However, if we neglect these and draw our plans, we will be in trouble. When the minister, along with the former cricketers, brothers and other experts, come up with a plan and present it to us within a month, let's initiate a program on how to uplift cricket and make it more popular with the people. So I request to take Mahela's suggestions into consideration and discuss and get prepared to implement a solution. We believe that the attempt to construct a new stadium in Degama reflects the manner in which officials of Sri Lanka cricket have wasted funds for a prolonged period of time. Such malpractices took place in the past as well. Meanwhile, the fundamental rights applications filed at the Supreme Court regarding the gazettes issued dissolving Parliament and calling for elections were taken up for consideration to grant leave to proceed. Newsfirst Charlene Benedict reports.
Councils representing two of the respondents named in these fundamental rights applications made submissions in court today. They were namely President's Counsel Romesh De Silva on behalf of the Secretary to the President, P.B. Jayasundara, and Deputy Solicitor General Demuni De Silva on behalf of the Attorney General and the Director General of Health Services. Now, at the onset of the consideration of the petitions today, President's Counsel Romesh De Silva submitted two letters to the bench. He said that one of the letters was sent to his client by the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Anil Jasinghe, titled Continuing of Election Process. He's read the letter and said that according to the Director General of Health Services, activities regarding the elections can continue. He also questioned as to why the Elections Commission did not hold the elections in time, and he reprimanded the Elections Commission on various grounds. However, responding to this, President's Counsel Salia Peiris, who is representing the Elections Commission in court, stood up and requested for an opportunity to reply to the allegations that have been leveled against the Commission. The Supreme Court bench said that they will consider granting President's Counsel Salia Peiris this opportunity.
President's Counsel De Silva further cited a letter sent to his client by the Elections Commission that raised concerns over politicization of the program to distribute 5,000 rupees and said that the SLPP government had therefore decided to suspend this program to avoid facing a possible election petition. He questioned as to how the petitioners can allege that their fundamental rights have been violated by the President's actions or inactions when it is the Elections Commission that failed to conduct the polls. He submitted that there is no requirement to hold meetings, large rallies, or even pocket meetings, and the only requirement for a free and fair election is that the restrictions are the same for all candidates. He submitted that certain petitioners had suppressed material facts from court and that no relief should be granted to them as they have come to court with tainted hands. Appearing for the Attorney General and the Director General of Health Services, Deputy Solicitor General Demuni de Silva submitted 5 preliminary objections. She submitted that the applications are time-barred as the proclamation that the petitioners are seeking to invalidate was issued on the 2nd of March, and the action was filed past the 1-month limit mentioned in Article 126, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution. She also raised objections against the non-joinder of the candidates, or at least the secretaries of political parties, whose rights will be affected by the relief they have prayed for. She submitted that the petitioners have no standing in court as they have not produced any documents to prove that they are voters in Sri Lanka. Deputy Solicitor General De Silva submitted that the petitioners are stopped from objecting to the proclamation dissolving Parliament and the accepting of nominations on days declared as public holidays, as the petitioners had acquiesced in the process and unequivocally accepted the dissolution of Parliament. She also said that the relief sought by the petitioners is vexatious, misconceived and vague. Deputy Solicitor General De Silva submitted to court that the Elections Commission is given a wide range of powers under Section 128 and Section 129 of the Parliamentary Elections Act. She added that these wide powers were given to the Commission to conduct the elections as it affects the franchise of the people. Deputy Solicitor General De Silva stressed that the President acted according to the Constitution when issuing the proclamation dissolving Parliament, and added that supervening circumstances cannot attach any illegality to the President's proclamation.
Amidst the ongoing debate on elections, power and the rule of law, these are the unheard pleas of villagers crossing the Andona Oil. This is the Andona port located adjacent to the Pannila Grama division in the Dehiyovita area in Kegol. Locals belonging to nearly 60 families cross this port daily. Without a bridge, this is how the villagers cross the stream daily. However, on rainy days, these locals find it hard to cross the stream.
අඩුම ගානේ පැය 4ක්වත් යනකම් මේ ගඟේ වතුර මට්ටම අඩු වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
පාලමක් නැතුව මෙතනින් යන්න බෑ. දැන් අපිට ඇත්තටම යන්න තියෙන්නේ පීනලා.
Should the authorities not look into this issue and provide a solution to it before another life is wasted? Some residents of Hambantota spend their lives in fear of being attacked by wild elephants. Several villages which coexisted with these magnificent animals in the past are today facing a crisis.
The only reason wild elephants encroach human habitats is because their own habitats have been destroyed. These were the scenes witnessed approximately 300 meters from the Hambantota hospital. The villagers of Siribopura, Suchi, Mayurapura and Maitri have been facing a similar threat for over a decade. Wild elephants that roam into these villages day and night not only destroy cultivations but also claim the lives of people as well. We have cultivated crops across 4 or 5 acres of land. However, we can reap a harvest only on a land area less than an acre. The animals have destroyed them. We have become debtors as a result of this situation. The elephants destroy our homes in the evening. The animals have no place to go, as airports and shipping ports have been constructed on their habitats. So these animals have no place to go. Elephant habitats in the Hambantota district is located in Lunugambihira, Bundala and Udavalave national parks. However, these protected habitats are increasingly being lost as a result of the unplanned development projects that have taken place without a care or a thought for the intricate balance achieved between man and nature. Wild elephants have been displaced in the region as a direct result of development projects such as the new town, the port, the cricket stadium, the international conference hall, and perhaps more significantly, the Mattala airport.
The elephants were in the Mattala and Lunugambehera areas. However, large land area across the places were allocated to construct the airport.
This problem has affected the people only after the Mattala airport was built. The people in this area do not benefit from an international airport. These forest lands, which belong to the Mahaveli Authority, the Land Reforms Commission and the Wildlife Conservation Department, have been destroyed today. The lands have been given to Indian, Chinese and US companies for several purposes, including cultivation and industrial activities. These elephant habitats, which were a massive support to the tourism industry, had been destroyed as a result of ad hoc decisions, which were made without a long-term objective in the name of development. Humans and elephants have lived for thousands of years in Sri Lanka in perfect harmony. The relationship has always been one of love and respect. But unfortunately, erratic so-called development projects have thrown this age-old relationship into a tailspin. Ultimately, both innocent humans and elephants pay the price. The elephant population cannot be blamed for seeking sources of food and places to survive. They will continue to follow their instinct and, if faced with obstacles, find other ways to survive. It is clear that this issue is now beyond a regional problem. The human-elephant conflict is spread out across almost all districts, with the exception of Colombo. This begs the question, are the authorities waiting for elephants to come marching to Colombo before they get their act together? It is time that those responsible took this problem seriously instead of piecemeal solutions that end up making matters worse.
In an update from the plane crash in Pakistan, BBC has reported that the Airbus A320 carrying nearly 100 people from Lahore has killed at least 37 people. In news here at home, 5 people tested positive for COVID-19 today, bringing the total number of cases in Sri Lanka to 1,060. A total of 431 active COVID-19 cases are currently receiving treatment, and the total number of recoveries in the country stands at 620 after 16 more patients were discharged from hospitals today following complete recovery. We closed schools and declared holidays for students at the start of the fight against coronavirus. Therefore, we will reopen schools and allow students to return to schools only once we win the fight against coronavirus. The first phase and the second phase in the fight against COVID-19 is centered around schools. We will hold a meeting on the 26th of May with the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Anil Jasinghe. We will only allow the return of students to schools once their safety is 100% ensured. We will never put our students at risk. 48 years ago, on a day like today, Sri Lanka became a republic. Let's cross over to Charlene Benedict.
Today is an important day for all Sri Lankans. Why is that? Today is Republic Day. Although Sri Lanka received a Dominion independence on the 4th of February in 1948, Sri Lanka received true independence both locally and internationally on the 22nd of May in 1972. Today is that momentous day when Sri Lanka became a republic.
On the 22nd of May 1972, Ceylon became the independent Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka in a ceremony that broke a 157-year link between the island and the British Crown. The Governor-General of Ceylon was the representative of the monarch of the Dominion of Ceylon since the country's independence from the United Kingdom in 1948 until it became the Republic of Sri Lanka in 1972. Until becoming a republic, the final say in Sri Lanka's sovereignty lay with the United Kingdom. It was the Samagi Peramuna government of late Sirimavu Bandaranaike that came into power in 1970 that launched the program of making Sri Lanka a republic and the leftist movements made great contributions towards this cause. The late Dr. Kolvinar de Silva from the Lanka Samasamaja party was a pioneer in creating the first Republican constitution. Due to constitutional issues, the then MPs met at the Navarangahala in Royal College and passed the Republican Constitution, and that meeting served as the Legislative Council.
Taking you on a quick walk down memory lane, this is how Sri Lanka lost their independence. This is how the Kandyan Convention was signed in the year 1815. We did not lose our independence through a defeat in a war. We lost our independence by signing an agreement. Since then, in the year 1972, on the 22nd of May, Sri Lanka gained total independence from the British, and that is what we celebrate today, Republic Day. However, decades have passed since the year 1972, and still, here in Sri Lanka, we speak about international agreements and deals.
The president had said that he would make direct decisions with regard to agreements or institutions which can affect the country. The president can now say that he will not sign the MCC agreement. He can say that the agreement, which they considered to be harmful before the election, will be disregarded now. Instead of making statements to the media, we request the president to cancel the agreement immediately. The president has appointed a committee to study the MCC agreement. We haven't published the report of the committee yet. However, the MCC agreement will not be useful to fulfill what was expected by the UNP government. I hope to put forth a cabinet paper in the near future on the allocation of lands. We are suspicious as to whether they are attempting to go ahead with the MCC agreement. The government had appointed a committee to study the agreement. That committee had submitted a report. That report said that the agreement is detrimental and that it is against the country's constitution. Therefore, the committee has recommended that the agreement should be completely disregarded. However, we can now see some interest being showed towards this pact.
MCC givisuma
2 weeks before last year's presidential election, they're trying to sign the agreement based on the wishes of certain foreign countries. We wish to clearly state that the MCC agreement will not be signed in that manner. If our government had inked agreements that are harmful to the country, this is the best time to leave them. The government must issue an official statement stating that it will not sign the MCC agreement. Neither the president nor the prime minister are speaking about this. There is no point if various other members of their faction are speaking about this. Half of them are saying that they will go ahead with it, while the other half is saying otherwise. This agreement needs a simple majority in parliament. I don't think that the president would want to go ahead with the agreement. However, certain unruly politicians in the government who dance according to foreign ransoms are attempting to sign the agreement. There are people like this in both parties. Although they can attempt to do so, we will prevent that from happening.
The Monetary Board of Sri Lanka, CBS has decided to cancel the finance business license of the finance company with effect from today. The central bank said it will take necessary action to pay compensation to the finance company depositors.
A tense situation arose between the depositors and central bank officials while the latter was in the process of sealing off the finance company branch in Chilav. This was the situation opposite the finance company branch in Jaila today. The police accompanied central bank officials when placing the seal on the finance company branch in Ampara. The customers opposite the branch did not permit the authorities to leave without obtaining an answer for their questions.
අපිට ලිඛිතව මොකක් හරි ගන්න දෙයක් තියෙනවද අපිට එහෙම දෙන්න පුළුවන් දෙක සනාථ කරන්න මොකද
මේ මාසේ පොලියක්වත් නැහැ. ඉතින් දැන් කාලබිල්ල කන්න දෙයක් කැඳවත් බොන්න හැටියක් නැහැ.
Meanwhile, several depositors gathered opposite the finance branch in Bambalapitiya today.
අවුරුදු 17ක් වැඩ කරපු සේවකයෙක් මට මාස දෙකමාරකින් පඩිය දුන්නේ නැහැ. අපි පඩිය ඉල්ලලා කෑ ගැහුවා මෙච්චර දවස්. ඒ පඩිය ගැන වචනයක්වත් නොකිය.
Meanwhile, the Finance Employees Union convened a media briefing today.
After it was taken over by the central bank in 2009, the finance company was not treated in a fair manner. The lack of a proper board of management and the failure to take proper decisions is what led to the fall of this company.
This was the situation opposite the finance company branch in Bandaravela.
Balangoda was completely flooded due to heavy rains. There was a time when the residents of Pilakumbra, a village in Balangoda, faced untold difficulties during the heavy rains and flooding. But today, they have something to smile about.
When the Gammadda team first came across the Pilakumbra village in Balangoda, they found a people who lived a hard and difficult life.
This is the only road that the people have to move about in the village. This is the only route that we use to reach the main road. School children, the elderly and many other visitors who come here use this road. You can see how hard it is to travel on this road. Officials have come here countless number of times and promised to fix this, but they never do. During election times, many politicians come here and make promises, but they do nothing afterwards. Recently, a person fell and had to be hospitalized, but nobody cares.
On the 1st of July 2017, Gammadda, together with the people and this community, was able to lay the foundation for the construction of a bridge that connected these villages. And a few months later, with the support of the ordinary people of Sri Lanka, the bridge was completed. A few days ago, torrential rains battered Balangoda, flooding the region within a few hours. But the residents of Pilakumbra stood proudly on their Gammadda bridge and watched as it served them, standing strong against the floodwaters.
Before the bridge was built in Pilakumbra, people were severely affected during heavy rains as the village was flooded and people could not travel. This bridge was a blessing to the people living in this area.
This bridge isn't a multi-million-dollar development project, and to many it might look insignificant. But it was built with the people, by the people, for the people. Just like the thousands of Gammadda projects that today continue to serve the people all across Sri Lanka.
And with that, wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining. It's time for Farah's The Newsline program.